Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Once Upon a Time at the Oscars.
The show that takes you through every Best Picture nominee from 1927 to today.
I'm your host, Kyle.
And I'm Ryan, and you should know that Kyle just, physically beatboxed what I was going to say.
Guys, season 2...
I have a rhythm.
You're flawless now.
I'm getting it.
Except for when we did the
Hold on.
prediction episode.
Let's just go with the first thing you said.
And you were like, the movie that takes...
Yeah, I really did.
Immediately.
I think I checked with my doctors. I prayed on it, and I do think I had a stroke. I think I said the right words in the complete wrong order.
Listen, incredible recovery, though.
I appreciate that.
So, hey, we're back with the second film we're going to be talking about for the 2026 Academy Awards.
Yeah, and it's definitely Kyle's favorite. We're talking about Joseph Kosinski's F1.
Why do you come at me right away? You don't know how I felt about this movie.
You're right, I don't, and that's why I'm just taking a guess. So if I say that, then you're like, you're right. Or you're like, well, funny thing about that, and then we talk about it.
So let's get right into ratings.
No, so this is kind of what we would consider, not even us, I think the world at large is kind of considering the wait, what's going on pick.
Yeah.
Historically.
Like the four non-blondes.
Yeah. Hey, what is going... See? If only we can mention four non-blinds for the remaining eight episodes.
They're this year's Taylor Swift.
They sure are, maybe. So this is kind of the one where, if you listen to our predictions episode, you'll notice that this is the one I was kind of fighting for a little bit at the end.
It was.
And I said I want to be on the record that it's going to be on here. And this is the one that took a lot of people by surprise. Did you watch the nominations live? I know you were on set.
I did, yeah.
Okay, great. So whoever was on set knows that Kyle wasn't paying attention. So
that's right.
we were both watching the nominations as they were being announced. I had my coffee. I was sitting in my couch. I was having a great time.
I was cold.
Well, get your numbers up. So we were watching. Was there a part of you when you were watching and you started seeing the below the line nominations come in where you were trying to kind of piece together that 10th nominee?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I expected F1 to get nominations in the below the line categories. I was like, sure, sound, yeah, makes sense. Visual, yeah. The other one, totally. I get it. When they went through the best pictures, it was once No Other Choice got nominated for international, I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, it didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, when it didn't get nominated, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Whoops. Yeah, I was like, hang on. Then it's certainly not going to get a Best Picture nomination. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What is going to be 10?
I'll tell you what I thought 10 was for me. When we were getting to sound and then international feature, I was like, Surratt is technically in 10th position right now.
Yeah.
So I think it was one award away from matching what F1 ended up getting. So technically, I think F1 and Surratt were just right there. And I think it was film editing that pushed F1 over Surratt.
Yeah, but even if they had matched nominations, I don't think that Surratt would have made it.
That would be the third international feature, and clearly they're not really interested in doing that.
No, we talked about it a little bit last episode, but this is the film that I think is the Academy saying, hey, dads, you can watch too,
From what I've heard of Surratt, it is not that movie. So you're right,
Yeah,
F1 is the pick there. Now, so it was F1, and F1 was a surprise to me. I did the... have you seen Brad Pitt Moneyball?
No.
There's a GIF in that, a shot that has become an immortal GIF, which, funny thing, we're talking about that with F1. That's to be coming later. There's a shot where in the movie, I think it's Chris Pratt hits a home run, but Brad Pitt is in the back, and he hears the crack of the bat and knows that it's a home run and stands up and looks, and he turns at the camera and looks past. And that was me during the nominations list when they're like F1. I was like, what? Huh? And I'm kind of elated. And the reason I'm elated isn't because this movie is so good, but it's because this does kind of round out a really interesting list. We talk about last year being the Emilia Perez, where you're just kind of what exactly are we doing here? And I guess you can kind of do the same thing with this, But with Amelia Perez, it's like, are we really saying that this is like technically worthy of that kind of nomination? And with F1, I'm sure you can make the same kind of like comparison, but to me, it's more objective than not. Like with Amelia Perez, there was like a lot of controversies and a lot of like, who is this really for?
Right.
But with F1, you can't deny.
This is for the dads.
It's for the dads, sure. But you can't deny the technical side of this.
Sure.
Like it really is the technical, like, the Avatar pick of that.
You bring that up, though. I'm surprised that Avatar didn't get the Best Picture nomination over this.
I think that because it's the third movie, that they're like, we've done this. Do we really want to keep doing this?
I was thinking, maybe it's Return of the King.
I think if it had more, well, it's not. I mean, like I think if they're like, hey, this is the end of the trilogy for sure. But like my issue with Fire and Ash is that it really did just kind of feel like Way of Water Part 2.
Sure.
It didn't really feel like the end of a trilogy. Even with the way things wrapped up, they're like, anyway, see you next week. So
yeah.
Not for me. But also, if it got more nominations, maybe it would have. But I think the technical side of F1 and maybe a nice little paycheck from Apple wouldn't have hurt, right? So let's talk a little bit about F1 before we get into I think I've made my stance very clear, but before we talk about the movie, let's talk about the movie.
F1 was directed by Joseph Kosinski, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
This is starring Brad Pitt, Damson Idris, Javier Bardem, not Javier Botet.
It's so close.
I do that a lot.
We got to catch up.
Yeah, and Carrie Condon.
This was made by Apple, but released by Warner Brothers.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers film. Again, Warner Brothers is leading the pack here.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about them as they show up. This was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Sound, Best Achievement in Visual Effects, Best Achievements in Film Editing, and Best Picture. The film premiered at the Radio City Music Hall on June 16th of 2025. And what's it about, Ryan?
So F1 does follow Formula One, but specifically it does show us the look into Brad Pitt, Sonny Hayes' life. Sonny Hayes is a thrill seeker. He is a racer. He will do just about anything he needs to fill that void in his life. He's interested in achieving the unachievable, and once he's done that, he's happy to move on. He finds himself in a position where he has just won the Daytona. We'll talk about that sequence, but he just won the Daytona. He's propositioned by his old friend Ruben Cervantes, played by Javier Bardem, to participate in F1 and to get his league their very first win. And if you can help him do that, then maybe they can solidify, his league and stop it from being sold to the shareholders. And in the process of doing that, he does meet Joshua Pierce, who is an up-and-coming racer. Sonny Hayes has only raced F1 once in his life, and he's at the golden years of his life. And he has a lot of criticism for being able to do this, especially by the young lion of Joshua Pierce.
Yeah, the young swan.
The young swan, as it were. Thank you so much. So, okay, elephant in the room is this movie, right?
Absolutely.
This is kind of the, what are you doing here, man? I think it's unfair. Like, it's okay not to like this movie. It's completely fine. But I think that this, to me, was this was the summer movie. Joseph Kosinski, obviously a very well-known name. I have loved him from pretty early on. He gave us Tron Legacy, another movie that I will defend that I probably shouldn't. It's not the best movie, but I had a lot of fun with it. Another movie where a score is like a big part of it.
Yeah.
I like a Joseph Kosinski movie in the same way that I think we like a Pixar movie, where it's an event and we know like we're going to get some kind of emotion, some kind of comedy. There's going to be like a little short in front of it. There's a package that you can expect and it hits. That's what a Joseph Kosinski movie feels like to me. Another great example is Oblivion. Oblivion was a movie he did with Tom Cruise. Did you ever see that?
No.
I really liked it. It's a really fun sci-fi fare. The score that he did with that was also incredible. It featured an original song from M83, which I thought was really, really smart. Overall, great sci-fi movie. I thought it looked incredible, and I had such a great time with it. It kind of felt like Joseph Kosinski was doing a little bit of what Denis Villeneuve has perfected.
Yeah.
Where he's kind of like, let me give you some sci-fi that really makes you think a little bit. But it wasn't quite as cerebral or effective as Denis Villeneuve's like Arrival or Dune. So I really enjoyed that. Of course, Joseph Kosinski goes on to do Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
Top Gun Maverick is kind of what put him on the map, so to speak. He worked with Tom Cruise again. He brought back the Top Gun franchise. On top of that, he built these cameras that can be mounted on these jets, and that was allowed for the actors to actually learn how to fly these jets. And then what you see on film is them flying those jets. Like that's an incredible mark in achievement with filmmaking.
Totally. They've been doing it since 1927.
Sure.
With
but
wings.
These vehicles do get faster.
Sure.
And you can't mount the same way, and you can't get the same kind of footage. So this ingenuity is what we're looking for from filmmakers. He's not making Citizen Kane. He's not making like these, these incredible movies that are just going to stand on their own, but he is trying to like put that ingenuity there.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that about that movie. I think that sometimes it gets a bad rep, not so much Top Gun Maverick. F1's getting a little bit more of that hate. There's some areas where it deserves that, and we'll talk about it. But overall, I thought it was a really like masterful catalog that he's had. So when it was announced that he was doing F1, I was really interested. It's like, Brad Pitt, F1, this sounds great. Like on paper, we should do it. So the trailers come out and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it looks like they're making an advertisement for F1, and you can make the case that it is an advertisement for F1 in the same way that Top Gun Maverick could be an advertisement for the military. Sure, maybe.
Yeah.
But then I saw the movie, and I pulled up in June. I think it came out in June, maybe July. July sounds right. Saw it in July, went to the movie theater, got my popcorn, sat down in IMAX, and I watched this thing. There's an opening sequence that I mentioned in Daytona where it literally opens on Sonny waking up in his trailer, getting ready to swap out with his partner for Daytona, right? I think it's like maybe 10 p.m. at night. Like he's going into like the midnight
I think it's
shift.
midnight.
It's midnight, thank you. He's going to the midnight shift. And Led Zeppelin cues up.
Whole Lot of Love.
Whole Lot of Love. Thank you so much. And Whole Lot of Love kicks up in the IMAX theater, and I'm already like, oh, hello. This is great. And you see him prepping. Like, doing his pull-ups, his push-ups, like getting ready, and then just walking to the track.
Yeah.
And this like 7-minute sequence is set entirely to Whole Lot of Love. And even like the conversations that are being had, you'll hear in the background, Whole Lot of Love is still playing. Gets in the car, races, has this incredible race, and there's fireworks going off as he's crossing the finish line in the background. This incredible shot of the car from the front with fireworks in the background while Whole Lot of Love is doing this huge crescendo. And I was like on the ceiling.
Yeah.
I was just levitating like, this is a summer movie. Like, this is what summer movies need to be, where it's not trying to be, the most prestigious thing you've ever seen, but it's effective.
Right.
And the score is going, and Brad Pitt is on screen, and he's driving a car. Like, this rocks. Dudes rock. That's what this movie is. It's a dudes rock movie. And after that sequence happened, I was so captivated that I was ready for whatever came after. And what comes after, I think, is more what you and I can talk about. A script that is not very strong.
Right.
A story that has been told before. A movie that is very focused on telling you why F1 is such a dangerous sport.
Yeah. Performances that are okay.
Brad Pitt, who is doing the most damn here role of his life.
Yeah. And way too many uses of licensed music.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Hans Zimmer, guy knows. He's like, are we making a commercial? Let's make a commercial, my man.
Yeah.
Here's a lot of music that promotes that. Now, with that said, I think that all of those things still lend it to be, wow, look at how technically achieving this is. And I still had a lot of fun with this movie. I think it hits the beats that it needs to for the story to get where it needs to get, to where it doesn't feel too boring for me. It might be a little long. I personally don't think so. I watched this again at home with my wife, and we talked about this off pod.
Yeah.
Watching this in IMAX theater is the way to do it. It's just like Avatar.
Sure.
You asked me, Ryan, hey, I'm going to go see Avatar. How should I see it? And I said Dolby 3D with the 48 frame rate per second, I think. But the frame rate difference. I was like, that's how you have to see it. Because if you see it any other way, you're going to be like, why did Ryan enjoy this movie?
Yeah.
So IMAX is the way to see this movie, for sure. Watched it at home with Taylor, my second time, her first time. And I was like, yeah, I still really like this. But this just is not like, my chest is not reverberating with Whole Lot of Love.
Right.
In two ways than one. And Taylor was like, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was good. I was like, no, I got to get you in a theater. That would have changed it.
Yes.
So, granted, if you have to see it in a theater, that means the movie isn't good. It's just the experience. I get that.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think that the technical achievement of what they did with this, and you can say that with Avatar too. Like, yeah, hey man, look, they made it all motion capture. Cool. But like, we are changing the way that we are filming these kinds of things. I talked about this on the predictions pod. I'm not going to repeat myself, but the ability to put cameras on these cars that are fast moving without weighing it down and still get the footage that we want to get to a point where F1 is going to use those cameras to film their normal races so they can build their audience and make sure it's more fun to watch. That's the definition of ingenuity. That's what we're looking for. And to do that in film is really cool. So I just love the technical aspects of this, and that's why it's not a surprise that 3 of these 4 nominations are all below the line technical achievements.
Yeah, totally.
But I want to hear your thoughts. Go off.
Fantastic selling point
Thank
for like why you should watch this movie.
Now let's touch grass.
Yeah. So, like you said, this is a perfect example of why the theatrical experience is so important. And if you can go see a movie in theaters, go see it in theaters.
100%.
It is going to be way more enjoyable and you know, take out like people talking and or whatever, all of the negatives.
Distractions of your phone.
Yes. Just, I should have saw this in theaters. I think I had 2 things working against me for this movie. One, I saw it at home for the first time. Sure, I've got a sound bar. I can turn off the lights, whatever. It's not the same at all. On top of that, I also watched this last night after it had been nominated for Best Picture.
So you have an expectation.
Exactly. Now I'm like, okay, well, this isn't a fun summer movie. This is a Best Picture nominated film. I'm expecting some stuff.
Yeah.
I think that this is all an advertisement for F1.
Sure.
I think it is, hey, Brad Pitt really likes cars. He wants to make a movie about driving fast, and he wants to actually drive these cars fast. Cool. He wants to work with Joseph Kosinski, who is a fan of, like, he's a tech boy. He's a James Cameron, you know? He's looking for ways to innovate and create he is good at making engaging movies, exciting movies. He's excellent blockbuster boy. But he's here making movies to showcase, like, you know, the cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like this movie in particular was done specifically so that he could say, hey, F1, you guys want some new cameras? Like, I could use a paycheck. And that probably sounds harsh. But I mean, this movie itself, they filmed actual World Championship races, right? The 2023, 2024 Grand Prix.
Let's talk about that. I mean,
super cool, right? But it's also like, okay, well, you guys just recorded what was already going to be recorded anyway. You did it in a cooler way where you used the cameras that you invented and everything. I don't know, man. I don't know. I sold myself short with this one, and it's coming out.
I'm ready to roll up the sleeves on this one, man.
Let's go.
So a couple things. One, Heard. I think you can't really... I'm not going to try and defend this as anything other than originally an F1 commercial, right? It can be seen as that way. I think there's more to it than that, but I'm not going to deny that it is, in fact, like making F1 look very good.
Sure.
Where I will push back, I think that this was not something where Kosinski came in and said, I'm going to make these cameras so F1's going to buy them. Because he actually came in and used the cameras from Top Gun Maverick and strapped it onto the front of the F1 car. And Lewis Hamilton, who is a F1 racer,
and also a producer
on the film, thank you, said, hey man, you can't do that. Like, these cameras are too big. It's going to weigh down the car. And any other I was about to say a word I probably can't say. Any other director who isn't trying their best on this is going to say, fine enough. The car's not moving as fast as it's supposed to. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and just put it on there and we'll just make it look faster in post, or it doesn't matter.
Right.
Are you supposed to be going 90 miles per hour? I mean, it goes faster than that. You're supposed to be going 120 and we're going to make it look like it's going 110. Who cares? He cares. And he came in and said, you're right. Let's go ahead and break it down. We want it to be an authentic experience. So let's break it down and really figure out how we have to make this camera in order for it to work and not weigh down the car.
Totally.
So even if he's building that and later on he's like, well, I wonder if F1 would be interested in using the technology. Fine, but that's what he came into the game for.
Sure.
So I'll push back a little bit on that. The other thing too, I don't remember the other thing. It was that. That was the main thing. But I had such a fun experience with this because I have seen what is out there. And I want to make sure that I'm clear on this. Watching this movie, at no point did it ever feel like, certainly not Brad Pitt, but like with the technical achievements, they're like, we're going to win an Oscar for this. Right. And that was never a conversation that I even had with myself when I watched the movie. Because it came out in the summer, I wasn't even thinking about this. It was kind of the Sinners effect, where it came out in April, and you're like, well, that was incredible. And I'm not going to think about like how this is going to affect the Oscars race next year because it's April.
Right.
It was the same way in July. But also this movie it is extremely fun, and it comes out at a time where like you've seen the Lilo and Stitch live action adaptation. You've seen the seventh Jurassic Park movie, Jurassic World: The Rebirth. And you see these movies and you see how little attention and care goes into it to try and make sure that it is like a true experience or fun. So when a movie is fun and you see that technical achievement, and it can be both. Yeah, it's not perfect, and there are some script lines that are just like, we could have done a little bit better here. And I do want to clarify that I think Brad Pitt is giving kind of a performance of like, hey man, just let me drive the car.
Yes.
Like, I think this man was like, I want to learn how to race F1 and I want to do that. But when you keep giving me script lines,
yeah, I can't.
What do you mean to do? Recite them? Like, right. Now, with that said, there's some great deliveries here, and I think they set him up for the best possible scenario where he has a mentor position reluctantly with Joshua Pierce, played by Damson Idris, who, by the way, cooks in this movie. I thought he was great. Really liked Damson Idris. I really liked Javier Bardem in this too, mostly just as like, hey, we're buddies. But I think this is kind of more or less a little bit of a carbon copy of the soul of Top Gun Maverick.
And in my opinion, kind of like a faded copy.
It's not as
Top
good.
Gun Maverick.
It's not as good.
Top Gun Maverick, when that was nominated for Best Picture, I got it. I understood it, And that might be like plane's cooler than car for me. I don't know. Maybe it's more impressive because it's like they're in the sky. Like
more can go wrong. I mean, they're both extremely dangerous, but like
totally.
At least you're on ground the whole time when you're racing. You're up in the air. Something goes wrong, catastrophically wrong.
So that might be me being just like an 8-year-old boy that goes, "Wow, that flew." I don't know, but I think Top Gun Maverick. I understood that nomination for Best Picture. This one, while there have been like your tech movies nominated in the past, I think Avatar is a great example of that. For one, those are never the movies that win Best Picture.
Sure. And nor will this.
Right. But there are times when I get it. Top Gun Maverick was the same way. There are times when I understand why it was nominated for Best Picture. And this is not one of them. I don't think that the overall story is able to support those technical awards enough to be like, this isn't just a showcase of like what we can do with the camera or, with the editing or whatever. And it is long. And it's a lot longer when you're not sitting in a theater with the music pumping and all of that. I made it halfway through this movie. I think the final race, I was like, okay, this must be the final race. And I checked to see how much time was left, which is always a great indicator of how you're enjoying a movie. There was 45 minutes left until the end for that final race.
Yeah.
But then the final race didn't really feel like there was a lot that happened in it. It was exciting, and it wasn't until that final race that I kind of locked in with the movie, and I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this now. But even still, the final race was just like, okay, now we're going to watch F1 for 35 minutes until we get to like the epilogue of the movie. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of fell flat in its narrative and its performances and all of the stuff that I think is very important for me in a movie. There are other racing films that have come out in recent history that I've enjoyed more because their stories were more interesting, more engaging. Gran Turismo that came out a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
That's not a great movie by any means, but I had more fun with the story. Visually, this might look better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This just kind of fell flat for me.
That's interesting. I saw Gran Turismo. It was one of those like Mystery Movie Monday things where I was like, hey, I think it might be Gran Turismo. And I saw it, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. But F1 to me is a different beast. I think it's a completely different kind of story. For me, I remember what I wanted to say. You talked about how like they filmed on the location of where they followed F1 around. Mm-hmm. So whenever they were filming in Milan, they would say, hey, you racing in Milan today? Great. Tonight, we're going to go ahead and film this morning. And we're going to do all that. I have an appreciation for doing that because the alternative could have been, let's just green screen this thing, man.
Totally.
Like, who cares? Yeah. Like, we'll just CGI, green screen, whatever. And there's a lot of money that could have been saved by doing this a different way. But instead, they did it this way. So where we could say, yeah, it's lazy because you didn't have to build all this stuff, you followed them around. And you could have just done like most other directors, they would have just been like, hey, you know what? The studio's putting a lot of pressure on me. I'm just going to do it this way. But because he did Top Gun Maverick, he can say, hey, look, if you want to do this movie right, here's the budget. And they're like, got it. Thanks. We're going to do it. You got Brad Pitt and you're going to work on Formula One. Fantastic. Here's your budget. Here's the budget you need. So I thought that was actually extremely well done because then you feel like you're there, right?
Right.
I thought that was great. And I think similarly to Gran Turismo, granted, it doesn't have to be a global adventure like F1 tends to be, but it was a little more reserved to those tracks. Whereas this one, different tracks, different locations. I mean, being able to like see Vegas, like those races, I really, really liked that. So again, I think that this deserves the conversation that it's getting in terms of like, hey, we have 9 incredible movies and then there's F1.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think we need to be a little bit kinder to the movies that have landed in that 10th spot and how this is technically in those, like, I don't mean technically in that way. This is proving itself in those technical categories.
It is. Yeah.
I'm mostly happy it's here because I enjoy being able to talk about it. And I'm glad we don't talk about a movie where it's like, who is this for?
Yeah, I'd much rather be talking about F1 than Amelia Perez.
Sure.
I would much rather be talking about No Other Choice than either, though. That's kind of the thing. But again, I get it. They put these movies in to draw different audiences and things.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying that this doesn't showcase and highlight all of those visuals and the effort that went in following F1. That's all incredible. It is just not enough to sell the movie to me as a Best Picture nominee.
Totally.
And because I didn't see it in theaters, some of that was lost on me.
Right. And I want to clarify that's more to the audience at large than just you specifically. But the other part of that too is you kind of mentioned like, why is this a Best Picture nominee? And I think the answer is in how many nominations it received. And sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's not. Because yeah, you can say, well, you know what? Then technically, maybe we should see K-pop Demon Hunters being nominated Best Picture because technically it should have 3 songs nominated for Best Original Song, but Best Animated Film. Like, there's a number of reasons that could be like the same amount of nominations as F1. So if we're playing that game, there's a couple other movies you could put here instead.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. No Other Choice was phenomenal, and it got absolutely a word that I think people are hesitant to use sometimes, snubbed.
Yeah.
Like, it did get snubbed.
It really did.
And I would have loved to have seen it in this position. With Ethan Hawke's nomination for Best Actor, I think Blue Moon could have been here. And that's another conversation of like a movie that I think deserved a lot more praise than it got.
Yeah.
So I am ultimately happy that we had a list of more than 10 movies that should be thrown in here. And F1 just happened to land in there. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Pleasant surprise, but all right. I guess we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So overall, I would definitely recommend this movie. I would recommend Warner Brothers and Apple to put it back into theaters, and I'd recommend everyone to go see it that way.
I agree with that.
But it is available on Apple TV. It is available on physical media as well, and obviously on demand. But it's worth talking about these nominations, right? And why we think it was nominated for that.
100%.
So let's go down the list here. Visual effects.
Yeah.
Talk to me what you think visual effects constitutes.
So I think this is where you get into like your CGI, your computer generated imagery, which is CGI.
Right.
All of that, all of like, okay, we filmed this. Now, after the fact, we need you to go in and add this, correct this, like your color grading and stuff, I think falls into here. Yeah, just kind of taking what is behind or what is in the frame while you're filming and adding all the flourish afterward to make it look like a real story, a real picture. Mm-hmm. So in this category, you had Avatar: Fire and Ash, Jurassic World: Rebirth, The Lost Bus, Sinners, and F1. So what's interesting to me about this movie is that it felt like there were only a handful of moments that were computer generated. The fireworks and things that you mentioned at the beginning scene, stuff like that, fireworks again at the end. But for the most part, a lot of the excitement from this movie comes from just mounting the cameras.
The practical.
Yeah, which is super exciting. Again, we both praised that quite a bit. Yeah, I had read that they built almost like an iPhone that just sat on the dash to get like those face cams of them zooming through the streets.
Yeah.
Really cool. It's all highly effective. How do you feel, though, of it stacked in this category? Like, where does it sit in the category itself?
Oh, I'm not quite sure why it's there. I think that the things that I would argue for visual effects fall outside of CGI and more into cinematography. I think that there's some great cinematography in this that could be ranked in there, but I don't think it holds a candle to the 5 nominees that exist in cinematography.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of those where the CGI had to have been so good that we didn't know it was CGI.
Sure.
At that point, then if you have to show me, and I hope they do in the nominations list on the broadcast, of like, hey, here's the shot, and then here's what we added to enhance it to make it look this way. Maybe that's revealing of it. But at that point, it's too late to vote. So I feel like, to me, this is like, hey, you did such a good job, but you also did a lot of this practically to where we probably won't give this to you.
Yeah.
I think visual effects probably lends itself more to like a Sinners, because obviously a lot of that was CG with the vampires. So I anticipate, I'm mostly thinking about Jack O'Connell towards the end of the Remnick, the fire that blazes up. I'm thinking that shot is really incredible. So there's more things like that.
Right.
Maybe some of the crashes here, but to be honest, maybe this is a detriment to them with how well and how much they tried to film practically, that I think even some of those crashes were like, we flipped a car.
Yeah, I think it's like when you get to cars being neck and neck and kind of bumping each other and sparks are flying and all of that. I think a lot of that was probably added in post.
Good, but like, I don't think it's enough to take the win.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I think the use of all the cameras and the innovation there does fall more into a cinematography line, but I also don't think that this would have been nominated for cinematography
Yeah,
either.
I agree.
So I don't know. I get why it's in here a little bit, but I'm also like, yeah, it's going to be Sinners or Avatar, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you compare with Avatar?
Kind of a side note, just because we're not going to be able to talk about it. Did you find it interesting that Avatar: Fire and Ash was nominated for Best Costuming?
Yes, but I did like the Fire Tribes look a lot.
Yeah, I guess my point is that normally when you talk about costume design, you're always like, hey, we went in there and we like made it. And with the Avatar, they're like, hey, we went in there and we just designed it. And like,
That's true.
I mean, I'm asking the genuine question here. Is that the same thing? Or
I don't know, because
it's interesting.
That's like, oh, our animated movie got best costuming. And it's like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
But you didn't build.
That's a
I mean,
different-
technically you built it, but you didn't build it.
Yeah, it's a different craft at that point.
Yeah, like you designed it, but then you didn't like realize it.
So it is strange. I mean, I'll be honest. I think Wicked for Good deserved at least a costume nod. I think the costumes are incredible, and they're hand making individual Munchkin costumes for like hundreds of people. Come on, man.
Let's have this conversation, because I think F1 is probably the movie that we're going to end up talking about the least of all of the 10. I think that I really appreciated that the Academy Awards more or less got rid of some formalities this year that I thought was very refreshing. Not all of them, because then we wouldn't have 10 nominations. Right? But some formalities of like, hey, did Wicked get nominated for costume design last year? It sure did. Is it pretty much the same costumes this time, minus like a cardigan that was worn after a certain event? Sure. Yeah, probably about the same. Should we nominate that, even though you know it's not going to win over like a Hamnet? Like there's a couple formalities there that to me, I'm just like, I appreciate you not even like considering this, because now we don't have to deal with like talking about whether it will or won't, because it won't.
Wow.
But then we have 10 nominations. And like, if you're going to get rid of the formalities, get rid of the formalities, man. Make it like 8 or like 5.
Well, yeah, that's something I really want to change, just for the podcast, so we can be like, hey guys, we have 6 episodes coming out this month, not 11.
10. Yeah.
But I don't know. This isn't the time to talk about Wicked.
I appreciate that. No, and you know what? There will not be a time, which is interesting. Sound being the next category.
Yes.
Talk to me about the sound nominees.
All right. So you've got F1, of course. You have Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Surratt. I think that this is the single category that F1 actually stands a chance in.
I feel pretty good about it.
I think the cars, to me, watching at home, and this might speak to the quality of my TV and my soundbar, I think the cars sounded better than they looked for me. Yeah, it sounds great.
I mean, I think with sound, sometimes I don't know if I want to say I'm happy that they combined, editing versus mixing, but I think that there's a lot of confusion around what that means,
right?
The difference of those. So then you were kind of like, okay, well, is this more impressive that they mixed this or edited this, and what does that look like? So when we talk about Sinners, I think music is a very big part of that.
Right.
One battle for another, I don't really think has much to hold up against in terms of sound. Frankenstein doesn't have much to hold up when it comes to sound. What was the 4th nominee? Surratt. Haven't seen Surratt yet, but I know music is a very large part of that, so music being the other part. To me, the racing element of this, and to your point, like the sounds of the cars, the sound of the track, like the audio that comes over that when there's like script readings within the car while they're driving. I think there's a really great sequence that I love towards the beginning of the movie, maybe middle, where Sonny is more trying to break the car than he is trying to win the race.
Yeah.
And because he's trying to break the car, there's technicalities and formalities that actually get them advantages, because one of my brother's least favorite lines in this movie is, sometimes when you lose, you win.
Because it's like a Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, it's a little bit, if you're not first, you're last situation. But there's that whole sequence where he's trying to break the car, and there's moments where Brad Pitt is racing this car, and he's just doing like, whoops, gotta come in, or some lines.
Yeah.
And I think that while they're racing, and he's communicating to like Joshua Pierce, like, you got it, kid, don't lose this lead. If you lose this lead, I'll kill you. There's a lot of that you can hear. Nolan take word or take notes on this of how to balance audio over large sounds.
Please.
Love you to death, man, but let's go. I think that's all really well done, and that lends itself to sound. So I would say not only do I think F1 has the most chance in this category than everything else, I think it's probably the winner.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's so fascinating because not only do you have to balance the sound, like you said, making sure you can hear the voice over all the loud cars and things, but like when these cars scrape up against each other, not only do you have to make sure that is timed perfectly and sounds realistic, but like you've got to record that particular screech and scrape of metal against metal in a way that you're like, oh, that is where they hit. You know, excellent. This is the category for F1.
It is, yeah.
And I think it's the only one that it really is like, hey, this is mine. Step aside.
Yep. I think this is where F1 proves like, hey, I should be here for a reason, but then that's it.
Yeah.
It's a victory lap, so to speak, of like, I'll say something a little bit later, but it does feel a little bit like, hey, I'm here to win. And they're like, all right, sit down. I'm so glad you won, but we'll see you, never.
Yeah, it's like giving a kid a lollipop at the dentist's office just so they'll be like, all right, yeah, go.
Yeah. You get the lollipop and you're like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
Film editing.
Okay, I'm excited to talk about this one.
Let's go.
You have F1, that's Stephen Mirioni, Marty Supreme for Ronald Bronston and Josh Shafty, One Battle After Another for Andy Jurgensen, or Jurgensen. I keep doing that with my J's.
I think it's Jurgensen, but I'll come back.
Sentimental Value for Olivier Bouguet-Cote.
Nailed it. Way better than me. I'm glad you're reading it, not me.
Who announced the
it was either Lewis Pullman or Danielle Harris.
Yeah, Lewis Pullman stumbled on that name as well. I remember specifically.
You're just trying to say the way he said it.
Yeah, that's all. And Sinners for Michael P. Chauver.
Yeah. Chevalier?
Shawaver.
Nope, never mind. I was writing down a name and it was Chevalier, and I was like, nice, and it's not him. Oh, it was for visual effects. It was Nicholas Chevalier for F1.
I thought you were talking about Maurice Chevalier.
No, that's when I was writing it down. I was like Maurice. Yeah. So film editing. This one's interesting. We'll go ahead and just spoil things. Not F1.
Not F1.
This is another one where it's like, okay, maybe the races, like maybe a little bit, but like not really. There's one film for me that this year, film editing stood out the most to me, and it was like, this seems intentional. Right? Like, it's not just what keeps the story moving, like what can we cut to next and how does this make things interesting? But it is actually like a design of the movie is the editing.
Yeah.
And do you know what I'm going to say? I think you do.
I don't, because I'm everywhere with this.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me where you're at first.
I'm really like One Battle and Sinners.
Interesting.
To me.
Okay.
Where are you?
Sentimental Value.
Interesting.
Sentimental Value has a series where the scenes kind of act more as memories.
Okay.
And whenever a scene will happen, even down to like kind of the title card of the movie, it'll cut to black and like silence, and then it'll just kind of start in the next scene. And after some scenes end, not all of them, but some scenes end, it'll cut to black and it'll be silent for about 5 seconds, and then it'll cut to the next scene. And all of that feels very intentional to me. It feels very much like these are more like memories than it is like an actual like story. And there is a narrative being told, but it really is more like a recollection of events. And that feels intentional. That feels like that editing was there for a reason. And I really like that, because ultimately where it goes, no spoilers, we'll talk about it. I'm so happy we get to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that episode. That all feels very much like the editing kind of is, not to be that guy who's like, New York is a character in this movie, but like the editing feels like a character in that sense. So I liked the editing the most in Sentimental Value. Do
Fair.
I think that's going to get the win? Not necessarily. I think that the win for sentimental value, there's one that I think it will win, and I think that might be the only, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that later. I don't think it's film editing. I think you're right. Film editing is probably going to go to either One Battle or Sinners. Maybe Marty Supreme, but probably not.
Right. Let's talk about the editing in F1 for a moment, though. It's so choppy. It's dizzying.
It can
how
be.
choppy it is.
And I think it's because like they don't know how to edit the movie versus they don't know how to edit the movie when they are doing narrative story, like just like filming scenes between Kerry Condon and Brad Pitt, or the racing. So I think those are the two dichotomies for them.
Right, but it's so strange because when there is dialogue in the film, especially if it is set in a time that is close to a race, it is just like cut.
Yeah.
And it's all just people talking or just to catch like a millisecond of a reaction of like Kerry Condon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so like it's TikTok editing in a way. And it drove me insane for the first like hour and a half of this movie. But then when you get into the races, you expect that works a little bit better. Obviously, high intense action scenes. You're going to be jumping from car to car and shot to shot. But it's also like the editing is so snappy for those races that there are times when I almost can't keep up with who I'm watching.
Yeah.
And I think that's to the film's detriment. So I don't really understand this editing nomination.
Yeah, I think this feels a little padded to me. I've spent the last 40 minutes or so talking about how I think that F1 deserves a little bit more than what it's been receiving from people. But I'll be the first to admit that editing and visual effects, maybe editing more than visual effects, feels a little padded. We just gave it to give it to it, basically.
Yeah, and oh man, I get nervous sometimes with the technical achievements because, especially when you do the death race and you have a dog in every fight, you're like, yeah, I just don't think that, the editing was blah, blah. And I don't want this to win editing, but because it is like...
It won't.
I don't know. Yeah, it won't, but when a movie is like the tech movie of the year, there is that worry of, look, guys, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but calm down.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but at the same time, I think that if this makes sense, it is below the line film editing, but I do believe that is the kind of award that is going to lend itself to, okay, let's see who gets the most wins out of Sinners in One Battle.
Yeah.
I think that's going to start kind of being like the beginning of that for me, or beginning of that for the Oscars of, well, Sinners got this one, so does that mean they're in the lead? And it's worth noting, too, that just because you get the most wins doesn't mean that you're immediately going to get Best Picture.
Right.
If you get them in the Big Five category, that's a bit more indicative of it.
Sure.
But just because you cleaned up in the below-the-line nominations or wins doesn't mean that you're immediately going to win Best Picture. So I think we still know who we think is going to win Best Picture, but the bigger question here now is who's going to get the most wins. Is it Sinners because they have a record-breaking amount of nominations, something I can't wait to talk to you about on the Sinners episode, or is it going to be something like One Battle, who has less nominations, but a little bit more of a campaign, I guess. Not even a campaign, but like a legacy.
Yeah, I don't know if it has more of anything right now, but it just is like a good competitor for Sinners.
It is, yeah.
So I don't know.
And then Hamnet's in the back. Hey, guys.
Remember me? So,
which leaves Best Picture.
Right. And this doesn't stand a chance. Could you imagine if this won?
I feel pretty confident in saying, I love being at the forefront and I love standing up and championing for F1 and telling everyone, hey, see F1 because it is fun. And they're like, oh, Ryan, you think it's going to win Best Picture? I think it is in 10th. I think it is number 10 of 10. No, it's not going to win Best Picture, and cute for it to be included. I think that's why you're cooking a little bit when you talk about how, like, I keep going back to, you posted this great clip of us talking about the nominations for technical achievements, talking about Frankenstein. And you say this great line where you're like, every year the Academy nominates 10 films for Best Picture. They shouldn't do that. And I just keep going back. I'm like, God, he cooked on this. So you're right. It should be closer to 5 or like 8 and like, fluctuate based on like, hey, this is actually Best Picture.
Let it float. You can have 10, but make sure those 10 are deserving. I think we could have.
We got so close.
If you're not going to include No Other Choice this year, set it at 9, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, totally. And that's so funny because you haven't seen No Other Choice yet. You just are so confident that it's better than F1, and it is.
Yeah, let's be real. This movie, the funniest thing I've seen about it so far, I was on TikTok last night, and of course you have the people, they're getting excited for the Oscars now, and they're like, okay, I'm going to watch all the Best Picture nominated movies. And I saw this TikTok of a girl who was like, what do you mean F1 got nominated for Best Picture? Now you're telling me I've got to watch Stinky Boy, Sweaty Boy movie, sport movie, Stinky Boy. She just kept saying Stinky Boy, and I was like,
is she cooking a little bit?
I'm sorry. Like, I feel bad for being boy. You know, like, it's for the dads. It's for the dads.
I don't think this is Stinky Boy movie. I'm gonna be so honest. There are Stinky Boy movies,
but I don't think she means it in the like, hey, the people in this movie are stinky. I think it's just when you go to the theater, you know, to see this movie, you're running into a little bit of a risk of it's full of boys. Maybe they're not stinky, but it's the boys are going to see this movie.
I'm gonna call this the inverse Back to the Future, where Marty McFly says you may not love it, but your kids are going to love it. I'm going to inverse this and be like, well, you may not love it, but your parents are going to love this one. And the biggest review that I had for this movie was I called my dad when I walked out of it, and I said, you need to see F1 in theaters. And he said, fine, whatever. And he saw it, and he was like, yeah, that rocked. I was like, I know it did.
Was he like, that was long?
Well, he's also he was.
Yeah.
But my dad's also the kind of guy where he's like, how long is this movie? I'm like, an hour and 50 minutes. He's like,
right.
Like, come on, man. It's not even 2 hours.
I do think this movie is too long.
This movie is too long. No, you're right. But my dad is also the world's biggest Led Zeppelin fan. So I think when he walked in, he was like, man, this movie's 2.5 hours. When am I going to like it? And it's like, bah, 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 bah. He's like, oh my God.
I'm in.
I'm in.
My first line when I was watching the movie, I said, man, you can always hook me with Led Zeppelin. Rock and roll boy movie.
Now, I would call it a rock and roll boy movie.
Listen.
And I want to give it its flowers where it needs it. Not that the script...
Because it's stinky.
Because it's stinky. Yeah, thank you. Shout out to her. I don't think the script is particularly good. But I got to commend whoever's writing Brad Pitt's lines. Maybe it's Brad Pitt. There are so many classic moments in this movie that are just, this is how Brad Pitt talks to people. One of my favorite lines in the movie is when he first meets Joshua Pierce. When Sonny Hayes first meets Joshua Pierce. He asks him, Jameson asks him, how many races have you won? And he said, I just won one last night. He's like, no, I meant F1 races. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Then how many you've won? And like that conversation, like I'm sorry, like that, how many you've won, that's so classic Brad Pitt. And it just kind of felt like they wrote him the way that Brad Pitt is going to be. They wrote this character to be very Brad Pitt. And it felt like not just, hey, Brad Pitt is phoning it in. It did feel like a Brad Pitt movie. And I liked that aspect. I think that those moments are few and far between. I don't think it carries the entire movie. I think that it's much more interesting to kind of see like, slight spoilers, I'm so sorry, Damson Idris, Joshua Pierce win the race at the end, because then it just kind of feels like, let's celebrate Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt should win this, even though we're kind of watching the growth of this character, Joshua Pierce. So I think there's changes they could have made, but ultimately, I'm happy to talk about this movie. I'm happy to talk about it with you. I think it is the odd duck in this scenario, and it is very much in 10th place. I didn't particularly like Frankenstein. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But I liked F1 more than Frankenstein, but I am more than happy to admit its place, or rather lack of place here, over something like Frankenstein.
Sure. Do you want to talk ratings before we do our double feature?
Let's talk
since we're
ratings.
Right there?
I'm going to let you go first, and I'm going to pull up my Letterboxd, and I think it's better that you go first. Just based on how much I remember liking this and what I probably rated it.
Yeah. So I gave this 2 stars.
Okay.
Everything that you just said about like Brad Pitt and the performances and everything, I disagree so hard. I think he was phoning it in. I think everybody just showed up to race some cars, with the exception of maybe Damson Idris. But man, like Brad Pitt laughing at the end of the movie when they're like, it doesn't pay any much. Oh, it's not about the money. Then what's it for? And he's like, cut to credits. I'm just like, thank goodness we're out of this and having to watch Brad Pitt act. There's also a line that Javier Bardem has where one of them kind of wrecks towards in the final race.
Yeah.
And he's talking to somebody and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he goes, nothing can change now. It's the worst feeling in the world. And he like turns his back to the race, and then some other car like crashes. So then there's a chance, and he just turns around and goes, "Miracle." Ugh, just it's rough, man.
It's a little bit more of the sometimes when you win, you lose, or when you lose, you win.
Yeah, it's just the script was not there for me.
Yeah, it was not.
If I would have saw this in IMAX, I think I would have had at least a little bit more fun with it.
I think it would have raised a star for you.
I think so. But like you said at the top of the episode, seeing a movie in theaters should enhance the movie itself for you. But if you're watching a movie at home and like the experience is what's important, but not the film itself, you are losing a little bit there. And I think that's what happens with F1.
Totally. I'm not too far off from your 2-star. I gave it 4 stars. No, I gave it 4 stars. And it's worth noting, I'm looking at Letterboxd right now, and 4 stars is the most stars that it's getting.
Oh, it's sitting like at an average?
Yeah, it's an average of 4 stars. Technically, it's an average of 3.7, but if there's 4 stars is the one that's received the most.
Yeah, I think it was at 3.9 last night, and then I watched it.
And then you brought it down?
Yeah.
I saw Return to Silent Hill last night, and when I started when I started the day, it was at 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. And by the end of the day, when I was telling my coworkers about it, someone checked, and they're like, hey, it's at 17%. And I was like, I don't know who's going in there and flooding the market. You're not going to fool me. This was at 7% earlier. I know it's 7%. But anyways, that's F1. 3.7 sounds about right for Letterboxd. I'm glad there's people who enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the 5 stars. I'm glad that my parents have Letterboxd accounts.
Right.
That's the most I can say about that. But I'm still in Kaczynski Hive. I will rock with Kaczynski Hive. I'm looking forward to his next project, whatever it might be. Happy for him. Look forward to being on stage once. Not even Kaczynski. But
it won't be him.
Look forward to your movie getting one win here, and then otherwise,
you guys sounded great.
I mean, here's the nice thing. I don't think it's going to happen. But another reason this movie was probably nominated is the same reason that Kate Hudson was probably nominated for Song Sung Blue. We need to make sure that movie stars are at the Oscars. So, like, if we nominate F1, are we going to see Brad Pitt? If we nominate Song Sung Blue, are we going to see Kate Hudson?
This was nominated.
It feels a little like that.
Just so they could give Brad Pitt a ticket.
Yeah, they're like, hey, Brad Pitt, can you show up?
He just shows up anyway, dude. Like, that's...
Does he?
Yeah, he's Brad Pitt.
No, here's the reason I'm questioning that. I'm not 100% he's coming to this. I don't know.
Because now he's addicted to racing, and he's out in the desert going...
So you're telling me that you didn't enjoy a movie about watching a guy death racing? That's interesting. Talk about that.
I don't enjoy when I death race. It kills me every year.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've appreciated this opportunity to defend a movie that's indefensible. So I appreciate you giving me that spotlight.
Hey, this is, I think this is the first big disagreement we've had on for a movie on the podcast.
And what's nice, it was never full of vitriol. Like, it was never like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I understand that, like, me like cargo vroom, but like it makes total sense what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm not describing it correctly when I say like classic Brad Pitt lines, but that line just feels very much like what you come to a Brad Pitt movie for. You got on that. I think that his performance in some moments are like indefensible of like, dude, what's going on? But it was pretty much like documented. Homie was like, you hooked me on F1. I don't know if I really want to act.
Yeah.
I kind of just want to drive this car. I'm going to be so honest with you.
And
I'm going to look great driving that car, but
he did. He did.
You want a double feature?
Double feature. Let's do it. Who's going first?
I'm going to go ahead and rip off the Band-Aid. My double feature is Top Gun Maverick.
Nice.
The reason why, obviously, it's a double feature of Kaczynski, and I mentioned it's a bit of a carbon copy. But when you talk about like the real, I guess, heart of F1, a lot of it is what you see in Top Gun Maverick too. The relationship of Miles Teller versus Tom Cruise, and him like nurturing this individual to try and get to his level. At times it feels like I don't want to do that. Like, I shouldn't have to teach this kid like how to be good at what he does.
Right.
He should just want to do that. There's a lot of F1 where Brad Pitt, Sonny Hayes, is, I don't mean it this way after saying his last name, hazing Joshua Pierce because he's so comfortable being like 7th and he's happy to be 8th. And he's like, why wouldn't you want to be first? Like, what are you doing celebrating? And there's a little bit of that with Tom Cruise and Miles Teller where he's like, what do you have to be so happy about? Like, what we're doing is serious stuff. And you can kind of see that like connective tissue of Top Gun Maverick to F1. Now that's at F1's downfall because Top Gun Maverick does it so much better.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you talk about the technical achievements and how they film these. The success story of Top Gun Maverick leads itself to F1.
Sure.
So I think that if you are ever like, I need to get some stuff done around the house and my parents are annoying me, throw Top Gun Maverick and F1 on as a double feature, you've blocked out 3 or 6 hours of their day.
Now, I'll disagree with you. Don't do that. Only go see this double feature in IMAX.
Oh, my God. This double feature in IMAX?
That's what I say.
Amazing Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. I come from experience here. This isn't the double feature to watch at home in your living room.
It's the double feature to watch in your living room if you're like 60 plus.
Okay.
Because then you're not like, your volume's on 17 and you're like, turn it down.
Right.
But if you see an IMAX and you're like 30, fire.
Yeah.
This rocks. But this is solely in the category of dudes rock. This is a great dudes rock double
Rock
feature.
and roll boy movie, baby.
Yeah, stinky rock and roll boy movie.
I'm going to shower after this because I feel bad for being male.
Well, I don't have to see F1 for that.
Fair play. My double feature kind of follows the themes of like an athlete past their prime kind of deal, who's going back for one last hurrah. The apprentice, what am I trying to say? Mentor. Yeah, the mentor quality of it does not exist in this movie, but I still think this is a superior movie, and you might not agree. Kind of played out. I'm going to go with Rocky Balboa.
Now, you're not talking about the first Rocky. You're talking about it was like 2008?
Yes, somewhere around that time. This is the one after the first 5 Rocky movies where Rocky Balboa has retired. He's done. He's like an old man. And there's this up-and-coming fighter who, for whatever reason, the topic of discussion is, well, this guy's not as good a fighter as Rocky was in his prime.
Right.
And that leads Rocky to being challenged by this fighter, and he trains. And it's more about like, okay, I've got to, I don't care if I win this fight. I've got to just prove to myself that like I can do this. And there's a great line after the fight. I won't spoil how the climax of the movie ends, but there's a moment where the challenger says to Rocky at the end, "You're crazy, old man." And Rocky says, "You'll get there." Perfect.
Rocks.
No notes. Love it. I'm a huge Rocky fan, though. So
you're kind of on a streak here, man. Of like you're outperforming me on the double features. I'm proud of you for that. I'm surprised you went Rocky Balboa and not Creed.
Yeah, I thought about doing the. There's more of the mentorship in that movie.
It's more about Rocky and Rocky Balboa than it is Creed. Yeah, that's
totally.
True.
Probably would have been a better double feature, but probably would have been a double feature. I don't really have an argument, but I think I just like Rocky Balboa a lot.
That makes sense.
So there it is.
That's a good double feature, man. I wish I would have thought more about that. That's mine is just like a dinger, what do you call it? Like a bunt, like when you just bunt the ball. Yeah. Okay, there you go. It's 2 feet in front of me.
Look at us, sports guys.
Yeah, stinky sports guys. That's all we are. You take one look and you're like, oh, those guys are athletes.
Yeah, my knees hurt
all the time.
So that's going to do it for F1. If you guys have any thoughts you'd like to send us about F1 or any of the other films nominated at the 2026 Academy Awards, shoot us an email at outaopodcast@gmail.com. Stay tuned for the Patreon. We're going to have fun bonus content coming, especially in February. We're looking at doing a watch party. I'm going to be recapping my Oscar death race every week. You're going to be reviewing just movies that you're watching.
Not Return to Silent Hill. That will not be the first one I review.
What a bummer. What a bummer.
Experience and to hear that.
Patreon.com/OUTAO podcast for all those rewards and more, including access to the community Discord. And if you haven't seen already, we are running a promotion right now all through February. Normally to gain access to the Discord, that is done through a paid tier on the Patreon, but right now, if you just follow the Patreon for free, doesn't cost you a dime, you will get that invite link to the community Discord, and once you're in the Discord, you're in the Discord. So if you want access to that for free right now, give us a follow over on Patreon and join the conversation, where we'll be talking so much about these movies.
And these episodes a day before they release.
Yeah, at minimum. I mean, really, they come out when I edit them, so you can get them tomorrow. Who knows?
Little peek behind the curtain there.
Yeah. But that's going to do it, I think, for this episode. As always, I'm your host, Kyle.
And I climbed a mountain to get here, bro. Formula One. Back home, we call that a participation trophy.
Miracle. And we'll see you at the movies.